The tutorial is an extract from the My First Sweater follow along, where we guide you step by step through everything you need to know about making your first top-down sweater knit entirely in the round. So just before we get into showing you exactly how to do this German short row or double stitch short row technique, I just want to show you why we need to do it. If I just take, and I've used a contrast yarn here just to show the extra rows or the short row here. If I go over and stop, turn my work and come back, we're left with a gap and a hole in the work. So the stitch acrobatics that we're going to do of creating double stitches and working those double stitches together are just all about making sure we do not end up with a gap in the work. So hopefully that's helpful, that you can visualize why we're doing it. Let's show you how to do it. So I have worked across on my little swatch to the point where we're going to do our turn. You just work across in your pattern to where it tells you to, and your first thing you do is turn, very simply. And for your German short row or your double stitch, your yarn then is already in the right position when you flip it over to the purl side, because your next instruction is to slip one stitch purlwise with your yarn in front. So we just slipped it as if we're going to purl, but no purling is happening. And now we create the double stitch, and it's really very straightforward. All you do is you pull that yarn up and over the top of the needle, which then reveals the two strands of that stitch just there. Do it again a little bit closer. Create the double stitch by pulling the yarn up and over the top of the right hand needle, and that reveals two strands right here, which we're going to call a double stitch, even though it's been made just by this one stitch right here. Now, so you can kind of keep your yarn pulled down there, and because we have to start purling, we're going to bring the yarn back to the front and purl across. It's important to keep a little bit of tension so that the double stitch stays visible here, but not to strangle the work too much. Now I'm just going to purl across a couple of stitches, not really paying attention to the number at the moment. We're just going to focus on the method. Now we're ready to do another turn, so we just flip the work around, bring the yarn to the front, and slip one purlwise with the yarn in front. Once again, we pull the yarn up and over the back of the needle, and that creates a double stitch out of this one stitch here. I'll show you again. Pulling the yarn up and over the needle to reveal the two legs of the stitch at the front. And then we work across again to the next turning point. And in our pattern, we're going to cross over these double stitches again as we work towards our next turning point. So we have instructions on how to resolve the double stitch. It's called resolving. It's really just about tidying and neatening up that turning point. And the way we resolve it is by knitting or purling the two legs together. So it's very simple and straightforward. Knit those two legs together. And then we'll work to the next turning point. I'm just going to work 3 more stitches. We're not following the numbers in the pattern, I'm just demonstrating the method at the moment. Turn the work around. Your yarn is in the right position, which is to the front. Slip that stitch purlwise at the turning point and bring the yarn over the back of the needle to create the double stitch. And back to the front again for purling across. Now we've met the double stitch. You will kind of feel it in your hands that it's a little bit different as it goes through your fingers. So that's one way if you're confident enough. Another way to make sure you don't miss them would be to mark them, and I'll show you how to do that now with the next turn. So we're ready to turn again. I'm going to flip the work around to the knit side, bring the yarn to the front, slip this stitch purlwise with the yarn in front, and then give it a good old tug here to reveal the 2 strands of that stitch, making it into a double stitch. Now, we said we could mark that. It's up to yourself exactly how you do that. It might be a little easier just to mark the stitch below it so that you can find it again on your way back. Going to carry on knitting across, and then we'll resolve the double stitch on the far side. So here it is. I'm going to knit those 2 legs together. I'll work 3 more stitches, and then we're going to turn. My yarn is in front, so I can slip 1 purlwise with the yarn in front, and then bring that yarn back over the top of the needle to create this double stitch right here. And I'll just mark, I think, the little purl bump underneath here, just as my reminder that that is where my double stitch is. Bring the yarn back to the front for purling, and we'll work across again. Now when we reach the double stitch on the purl side and we need to resolve that, it might look a little odd. Sometimes you get this connection point here between the stitch below and where your double stitch was, but once you go through behind those 2 strands at all, then you're going to be okay. You can purl those 2 stitches together, or those 2 legs of the stitch together, and carry on from there. We're going to go 3 more stitches and then stop, turn around, and create another double stitch here. The yarn comes to the front, slip the stitch purlwise, and bring that yarn on up and over, and begin knitting the other direction. I'll go ahead and remove this marker and position it down here, just as the reminder, but after a little while you may be able to just feel your way through. As I work across this row, this feels like a little bumpier than the other stitches, and that helps me identify where it is. Here we are again at the knit side, and I have a double stitch to knit the 2 legs of together, and that's all resolved. And we're meeting the double stitch on the purl side, pop the needle tips in there, and purl 2 together. I'm going to purl to the end of the row now, and then just work back to resolve the last double stitch, and we'll see what we've done. Here we are at the last double stitch, knitted together, knit the 2 strands together, and complete this round, or this row. So you can see that we have added okay, slightly wobbly section of length here throughout this little swatch. Everything done in the contrast shade, so you can see how it actually takes shape. But on your sweater, what we are achieving really is we are raising the back of the neck and creating a lovely slope over your shoulders, so that overall you are going to have a much nicer fit in your garment than if your front and back pieces were exactly the same length. And the beauty of it is, when this is done all in the one colour, this is practically invisible to anybody else looking at your work. They won't know the magic that you have worked in the background. I hope you enjoyed this extract from the My First Sweater follow along. It's just one of the many helpful videos that are contained in the full course. When you sign up to the course, not only do you get lifetime access to all of these wonderful videos, but you also get a €30 coupon code so that you can treat yourself to something from our online shop or from the store here in Dublin. We would love to have you join us and to help walk you step by step through everything you need to know to make your first sweater with my support and the support of all of the team here at This Is Knit. I'll leave a link to the course in the description below.